evening, because yes, it is a 19 first alert weather day for the potential that some of these storms could be on the strong to severe side. You'll notice though that when you look at the wider picture of the severe outlook, a lot of the strongest storms should stay well to our south, but we're basically going to be on the northern edge of this system, so you have a little bit of activity to work with. You've got the cold front coming in. We've seen some sunshine so far this morning that's heating up the temperatures, and so I do think that does open up the window for some strong to severe storms possible as we go through the mid-afternoon hours into early part of this evening. And you'll notice our primary concerns will be the 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, of course, for any of those outdoor activities you have, because this morning could be a little bit deceiving just because the weather is so nice. But make sure you do have ways, especially if you're going to be out and about later today, of receiving some of those alerts. The 19 First Alert Weather app really is a great tool to have with you, because not only will it give you the heads up with any changes to the forecast, but it'll also let you know if heavy rain or lightning's in the area, that kind of first clue that you may need to make some deviations to some of those plans. But you take this live look outside, certainly you can tell there's a little bit of high level cloud cover starting to work through. Still though, a lot of sunshine, a lot of blue sky mixing in, and that is going to basically help to prime our atmosphere. What you're also already starting to see is what we actually call little gravity waves that are happening out to our west, and usually that's a pretty good sign and a precursor to storm development here, especially when you have a front starting to make its way through. So not a whole lot of development to the west just yet, but it is something we will keep an eye on here over the next couple of hours.
Headed this way?
Yeah, it is certainly possible as we go through the afternoon and early evening hours. Again, if you step outside this morning, you are feeling the heat, you're feeling that humidity building in. This is all priming our atmosphere for potentially that severe weather as we go through the second half of today. So just make sure you have several ways of receiving some of those alerts. You'll notice that our primary threats are kind of like what they have been with the last several systems that have been rolling through. It's really the heavy rain potential. It's that damaging wind potential as well, especially considering you're dropping that temperature a little bit more because a cold front is starting to make its way through. But we can't rule out hail. We can't rule out that isolated tornado risk. It's just those two risks are a little bit lower than, say, the heavy rain threat as well as that damaging wind gust potential. I want to take you to a wider look at your radar. What you're going to see is some activity up towards the north across parts of Michigan. We're not really seeing it fill in too much just yet out across Indiana. And then you have that decently healthy complex down towards the St. Louis area. The fact that we don't have a lot of activity here in between is kind of a telltale sign that you get a little bit more of that energy, you get a little bit more of that better organization farther to the south, and this is really going to be contingent on how well things start to fill in here over the next couple of hours. But certainly our atmosphere is priming itself for that potential. We're seeing a lot of that heat and humidity building in. It feels like it's in the low 90s in some spots, and you're getting what we call these little gravity waves. That's not necessarily an indication that you're dealing with severe weather, but it is showing us some signs from our atmosphere that it is getting primed for the potential that we could see some storms develop. It's showing you a little bit more turbulence that we have in our atmosphere. You get the upward drafts and you get those down drafts forming, and that's kind of what those gravity waves will basically show you. You'll notice on your future view, everything's staying pretty quiet here for the next couple of hours. We're still waiting on a boundary to make its way through. So in the meantime, temperatures are going to warm up pretty quickly, upper 80s to lower 90s, and then we'll see if that can't help to become a better focus for some of those showers and storms by the mid to late afternoon hours. So there you can see a couple of those isolated storms out along that boundary. We may see it fill in a little bit more as it continues to sweep off towards the east. But the good news for us is the potential is there that by 6, 7 o'clock, at least some of the strongest of the activity may be starting to exit our area. We'll watch for a few more isolated storms east of I-77 as we go through the early parts of this evening. But by this point, temperatures are starting to cool down a little bit more, and it should eventually give many of us a little bit of a break from some of this activity as we head into the overnight. The area we'll have to watch, though, areas south of US 30, where temperatures can stay just a little bit warmer as we head through the overnight. But the boundary, it's going to be important. We're going to have to watch it very closely as we go through the day tomorrow, because if it doesn't work its way far enough to the south, it can keep the door open for a few of those isolated storms. And then we are tracking another alert day coming in for your Friday. We'll talk more about that coming up in the next half hour. But